So back in 2019, I made some content about resistance training and how we use resistance training to drive the adaptation of muscle hypertrophy. Now, back then, we thought that having a strict repetition scheme of 8 to 12 reps and a loading of 70 to 85% of your 1 rep max was the pinnacle to hypertrophy training. And to some people, it may still be that. However, we have so much more information now on repetition ranges, loading percentages, and how to drive muscle hypertrophy that I have to amend it and state that them repetition ranges and them loading schemes that were in that video, they may not be perfect and they may not even be the best way forward for you. So what has come to light in recent years is that we can elicit muscle hypertrophy through a much broader rep range. We do not need to be between 8 to 12 reps. We can go lower than that and we can go much higher than that as well. It would seem as though if we equate more volume, we're going to have a greater advantage to muscle hypertrophy. But I think one of the key findings as well is that we take the exercises in each set to overload. So typically that will be the point of technical failure. That's a good way to generally get to the point of overload. Anyway, we can take exercises much higher than 12 reps and we can take them typically much lower as well than 8 reps. Now, the differences are that if we have much lower than 8 reps, we're typically going to see much higher loading. Now, the only difference here is that when the load is higher, we're going to get a greater strength adaptation as well. If the load is much lower, we're going to see a lower strength adaptation. Now, strength and hypertrophy are not the same thing. I have gone over this in other videos, so check them out. But we'll see higher strength adaptation with the higher loads, lower strength adaptation with the lower loads. However, hypertrophy can be achieved across a much broader rep scheme. So we can be much lower than 8, much higher than 12. We want to equate higher volume if possible, and we want to take each set to overload, or if you like to term it in such a way, technical failure. Now, we do not need to be under them strict, rigid guidelines of 8 to 12 reps, 70 to 85% of 1 RM. We can allow our training to be much more fluid and formless and go much higher than that, much lower than that as well. So I will insert below some references here, some data sets that you can actually have a look at so that you can see some of the studies that have come about and where this has come from. But hopefully this will allow you to adhere to your training much better and to progress within your gym sessions.